Morning.
Good morning. We're at Homesteaders of America.
We are.
We're sitting in the car because we're Floridians, and
It's rather chilly out there.
43 degrees is kind of winter.
Got our gloves.
Got our parkas. We don't have our beanies.
No.
No, we don't have our parkas.
It'll warm up to be a beautiful day. I think high is 70 today, so.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. So we're on our journey. Here we go. First timers. Whoop whoop, rookies.
I'm different. I'm sorry.
Stuff like that. And we actually ran somebody to give them watermelon, but I'm afraid watermelon might be too acidic for their stomachs.
Yeah.
And, feel?
Well, I imagine that they aren't very hot in Florida weather. You were saying how to...
There are alpaca farms in Florida, yes, but they have the facilities. They have barns with air conditioning and stuff like that. We don't have that. We don't have the money for that.
Where are you from?
We live in Fauquier County, Virginia. About an hour 10 minutes away from here. Yeah. Yep.
Who owns the food source, right? You own your food, nobody's gonna tell you otherwise. Who owns the food source. When you shop at that market, who owns the food? Your government. Who owns the food? That farmer who is owned by the government. Who owns the food, right? You gotta own your own food source. That is the first and foremost thing. If you cannot do it, grow it on your own, raise it on your own, or whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna find that local farmer who's gonna help you get to that point, okay? That's all you gotta remember. Through anything that you walk through here all day long, all day tomorrow, when you go home, who owns the food owns the food source. You gotta break that cycle. If you don't break that cycle, you're gonna be coming back every year not figuring out what you're doing, okay? Own it. Own it. Own it first and foremost, and then from there, you can do whatever you want to do.
None of y'all get ahead of yourself, right? None of y'all, you have no weeds in your garden, right? No, you're it's okay. Breathe deep, it's okay. Everybody in here got weeds. I was just at Joe Sal's, he got weeds, okay? So, when you're being overrun, you have to then remember, what do you like to eat the most? And prioritize that and go down. Where are you spending your money at the grocery store? When we first started out, our goal was to save the dollar bills. We got into this for health and because when you start transitioning into health and you start eating whole vegetables and meat, and then you start getting into organics, that's expensive. But then the very stuff that is expensive at the grocery store, on the outer sides of the grocery store, notice that's the very stuff you can grow at home. So instead of buying an organic Swiss chard packet at a bunch at the grocery store for $3.50 or whatever it is, you can buy a seed pack for $3.50 and grow 1,087 Swiss chards. Okay? So this is going to help you begin prioritizing. If you're to save money, then you're going to prioritize different things over other things. Okay? If you, what do you have room for? So you probably don't want to have a bison if you're in a development and your neighbors complain over the roosters. Okay? Don't get a bison if you've got 1/4 of an acre, all right? What's the most efficient? So maybe you're looking for efficiency. Maybe you don't have a lot of time. Well, that's meat chickens if you eat meat. That's a garden, okay? Maybe if you travel a lot, you don't want to have animals if you don't have people to help you care for them. So think through all these restrictions. What you already know or could easily learn. This is a good point. So if you have layer chickens, it's not that hard to go into meat chickens. okay? Or even into turkeys. But if you're going from chickens and you want to get sheep, it's a whole different ballgame. And maybe you don't have any experience with sheep. Me, I've had cows since you've been watching the vlog. I grew up around cows more than even chickens. Okay, a lot of people know me as the chicken man, but don't tell anybody. I actually like cows better. Okay, but what do you already know? Okay, so figure out remember why you were growing food. So if it's to save money, you probably don't want to get a milk cow because you can go down and you can probably buy raw milk for $10, $14 a gallon. That might sound like a lot to you, but if you're dedicated and want your raw milk, that's actually a really good deal for raw milk. I feel like that's white gold. But that said, if you don't have the land, maybe you're having to feed a lot of hay, you have to get the milking equipment. What happens if they get sick? You got to breed them at some point. It can be more expensive. I'll often say, I'll admit this, I'll be down there milking, I'll move the cow, and it's not the milking. It's the moving them, it's the setting up the milk, it's the putting away the milk. And I'll say, golly, we could buy this for $10. I mean, it's taking me an hour and a half of chores every day. I'm worth more than $10 an hour. We could just go buy it for $10. We can't buy that in the store. Our milk raw is 100% grass-fed. It's A2A2, which is a genetic that's easier to digest. And the people that we're buying milk from, they dried up and said, we're going to make cheese. So we just can't get it. So we do it, and it's wonderful anyway. And I would probably even have a ruminant animal, even if I was getting nothing from it, just because of what they do for the pasture with their mowing and their manuring.
Show me your shirt, babe.
Mongolians were some of the first ones who lived in the yurt, and these are some of the style yurts that they would live in, and some still live in today. And they were nomadic tribes, many of them, so they would set their yurts up and they would migrate. They would take them down and migrate from location to location. And that was the original intent of a yurt, so that way it could be easily moved, taken down, but also be used as a place to provide shelter for the people. And they have really basic, provided for their basic necessities of living in yurts. And this is some samples here of what their style of yurt would look like on the inside. So it kind of gives you a little idea. They would basically have an open floor pan with just the stuff that they would need to sleep and eat. So it kind of gives you an idea there. But nowadays we have so many different types of options. A number of manufacturers are making yurts and taking that concept that the Mongolians and others had of living in those yurts and providing housing options for homesteaders and others who may want to have an alternative housing to live in. It could be, but at the time we didn't have a lot of economical resources, so one of the options we brought up was a yurt. And I think Lacey, you were the first one that brought it up, and I was like,
I teased you before, because you always see the Pacific Yurt ad and then like Mother Earth News or other magazines, and I was like, it'd be cool to do a yurt. And then one day I was on internet and I was just like, I wonder if there's a yurt on Craigslist. And I just typed it in and it was like 2 hours away. I was like, what?
Yeah. So we got a really good deal on a yurt. It's like, man, that's definitely the option we're going to go, and I'll actually share it with you. We got our yurt for $8,000. They typically, for the size that we bought ours for, would be what, $20,000 to $25,000 at least,
or 30,
or more,
depending on how many windows and doors you have and things like that. But ours included all the flooring, all the floor trusses and everything. So that was like a steal.
Yeah.
To get it for
So I was like, score! Who can say that they got their house for $8,000?
And it looked like this when we picked it up. It was under, tarps and in a container. And then when we brought it, we actually had our current house in our old house
Oh,
for
yeah.
like a year and a half. There's who can say that they stored their house in their other house for like a year and a half.
Sounds great.